How you doing, YouTube? Matt Massive Beer Reviews, back with yet another review. New brewery time. Technically not new, because I've already drank one beer from these guys, courtesy of Andrew. The first one came from him. The second one came from them, and that is Troy City Brewing Anawan. This is a pale ale. It's 6% alcohol by volume, and it was canned on October 10th, which is a bit over a month ago. So we'll crack into this. Thank you very much, Andrew. We'll see what's what. Oh, I think we have clear beer. Clearish beer, if you will, which is kind of fun, to be perfectly honest with you. So yeah, I mean, she's hazy, but on the pour, she had a clearness to her. So you can see she's got a rich orange, kind of almost amber kind of haze to her, which is over index finger, infinitely creamy top, a little bit of soapy edges on her. Pretty tight, compact bubbles on it, but I mean, she has that little bit of extra darkness in that orange kind of category when it comes to like the way hazies typically come off. She got a haze to her, but in a pour, she wasn't overtly hazy. So it's kind of like that middle school. That sounded horrible, right? Like middle school bullshit. Kind of like your heady, your sip, your fiddlehead. Those kind of level of kind of haze, old school, new school haze, if you will. And label-wise, it's kind of like a, they just did the same thing over and over again. At least 2 cans that I've had. So I don't hate it, but at the same time, it doesn't blow me away. So yeah, kind of excited for this one, to be perfectly honest with you. Give it a whirl. Citrus, candied citrus. That's pretty much it. You're just getting you're getting a slightly pulpy, slightly pithy, a hard candy kind of citrus, and that's it. Sweetness, the ever so slightest bit of bittering on the other end of things. Done and done. It smells like it's come off slightly sweet. Hopefully, there's a drying component to balance it off. We'll see what's what. Cheers. Not nearly as sweet as I thought it was going to be, and I kind of really dig this. This is drinking beer. This is like a West Coast IPA. It's like a blend. It's like half West Coast IPA and half old school East Coast IPA. So if you take your classic West Coast IPA, nothing too crazy, but like maybe like a grapefruity Sculpin in a lower ABV version, because I think Sculpin's like up there, isn't it? Like 7 and change. I haven't had one forever. And then take a classic East Coast IPA, or even like a new school, old school, new school, like I talked about earlier, kind of East Coast kind of IPA, where it's kind of like you're doubling up on that citrus, you're doubling up on the way those fruits come off, you're kind of getting a little bit of those kind of resinous dank things on one end, but it's not nearly enough for it to be like an old school West Coast IPA. That's where this one lands. Listen, the way this comes off, this is, I assume, their version of a West Coast IPA, which if you're based, I believe these guys are in Rhode Island, right? I should have mentioned that, right? Fall River, Massachusetts, actually from where Andrew's from. Being up in Massachusetts, this is probably super West Coast based on what everybody else does. So I assume this is their West Coast version, West Coast Pale Ale. The way that bittering plays, there is a nice soft dryness in there. It doesn't come off nearly as sweet as I thought it was going to be based off of the nose. You get that nice bittering, kind of verging on a little bit of kind of like dankiness. And the way that orange comes off, I totally thought it was going to be like a candied orange sweetness on the taste, and while it does have a kind of granular sugar, kind of hard white sugar, cane sugary kind of sweetness to it, it doesn't get nearly too sweet, and has this nice kind of soft citrus going on. It's more from concentrate Orangina kind of citrus as opposed to like an overt kind of legit kind of organic kind of pulpiness, but I like it. I think it's fun. I think it's chuggable. 6%. Not super low in ABV, and the way the mouthfeel comes off, which probably, if I'm going to kind of rail on anything, it'd be the mouthfeel, but you're talking about 6%, this kind of beer, the mouthfeel is appropriate for what it wants to be, but, I mean, if you could give this to me, and I know it can be done, so I'm not asking for craziness, if you can give this to me at like 4.8 to 5.2, all day with this, but let's just take my soapbox and throw it off to the side, and just say, this is pretty tasty stuff. I dig this. I think it's a fun beer. I don't think a lot of people make beers like this. And let me kind of double up on that and say I don't think a lot of people care to or dare to make beers like this nowadays. because I feel like these are beers that people don't go gaga over because of the way the bittering comes off and how much influence it has from the West Coast. I think a lot of people view this as kind of like old guard beer, and that it's something that is kind of a relic from the days gone by, at least parts of it, because it's not full on kind of Westy. And I just think it's well-made beer. I mean, that's kind of crazy to think about it that way. It's just really well done, well-made pale ale. Aggressive for a pale ale. It's pretty much an IPA, let's put it that way. But for a pale ale, it's pretty aggressive. And, if you knocked off 0.5% on this, it'd be like a really aggressive pale ale in a positive way, not like an overly aggressive pale ale. It'd be something you'd be like, okay, I dig this. I like the way this is coming off. How vibrant it is for the ABV. You're also looking at, we're 2 days removed from, or 2 days away from Thanksgiving. This beer's a month and a half old. And it still stood up pretty well. Traveled on, I was on the road for a couple days in the mail, maybe jostled and abused. It's still damn tasty beer. So that's a pretty good thing from a brewery I never heard of before I got these sent to me from Andrew. So yeah, I like it. I dig it. I think it's fun. These are going to be easy going down. I kind of want like 3 of these for the night. Anyway, let's talk about it. Is this one of the better pale ales I've had as of late? It's definitely in the conversation. Listen, some of the new school stuff is what really does turn me on when it comes to kind of these hazy kind of new school pales. So this isn't going to be upper echelon top 4 status for me. There's so many out there, and there's ones that just hit my heartstrings just right. But this is no slouch, and it's one of the better ones I had, especially from a new brewery. Value and availability, no idea. Maybe somebody out there in the old Fall River area can let me know what's what and leave you with if you like what we like this beer. If you like beer, man, if you like good beer, if you like old school, and this is one of the things, not to get on a crazy tangent because I do that all the time. There's like a life cycle when it comes to beer nowadays, and it seems like everybody gets into beer and then they like this, they like that. They like their fruited Berliners, they like their hazies, and they like the pasty shots, and eventually gets to the point where it's not cool to like those things anymore, and everybody throws them away and starts getting into mixed culture, saison, things like that. But let you in on a little fucking secret. It's okay to like it all. Okay? All of it. Except for smoked Rausch beers. That's a joke. It's okay to like them all. So, this is kind of like one of those beers where, like, if you're like a hazy person, and then you eventually get to the point where you're like, I don't drink hazy beers, and then you pour one of these, and then everybody in a group, and this is going to sound really pretentious, but let's say you're in a group of people, and there's like couple 2-3 of you that are just gotten a beer over the past 5 or 8 years or whatever, and you got in through the hazy door, and then there's a bunch of like old timers that are like, I don't give a fuck what it is, I just like what I like, and if it tastes good, that's all I give a shit about. You'd pour this, and then you would joke about this being like, oh, hazy stuff, why do we drink this stuff anymore? And I think the old school heads would be like, actually, dude, this is pretty good fucking beer. I think that's where this one lands, if that makes any sense to anybody out there, and that just because a beer it has some new school influence does not mean it's just pigeonholed into a category of whatever. Anyway, so if you like beer, if you like hazies, but you're okay with bitterness, you like a little bit old school, you're new school, you like new breweries, this will do you. There you go. Another review in the books. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Down there if you want to talk about it. Massive Beers if you want to check me out doing the social media stuff. Beer Massive. Want to check me out doing the whole podcasting thing. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. Hopefully enjoying a nice little, pale ale right now. Hope we'll see you next time. Cheers.